Imagine just trying to fit in, be a part of the group, and taking drugs at age 8. The All Eyes on Me podcast is the true story of Vincent Lilly, his struggle with drugs, addiction, recovery, and onward to hope and health. Be ready to experience another world. Here's author Kevin Zadrill and Vincent Lilly.
Hi, my name is Kevin Zadrill. I'm the host of this podcast, All Eyes on Me, a true story of addiction, recovery, and hope. And with me again, as always, is Vincent Lilly. Welcome back.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going great. Always great to reconnect on our podcast series on your book, All Eyes on Me. I think we've covered in the last 10 episodes very deep looks at different topics throughout the book. And today we just kind of want to explore some of these a little bit further as well. I know a lot of questions that I've gotten from readers and people from the podcast is about yourself currently. I know when we look through the book, we've covered some pretty intense topics throughout your life. A lot of them starting, with your diagnosis as infant hemophilia, and you've gone through a couple of surgeries because of that. Your upbringing at home and sexual abuse that your family had gone through, involvement with the youth justice system, and addictions that you've gone through, and several incarcerations with federal penitentiary. And, through it all, you've been through a lot. And I guess the question now is, where are you now with your life? What have you been able to now do since the book has come out, and where you're at? I think people are very interested to know.
I think the book came at a really good time because I had already started doing a lot of things. I had already started on my sobriety, and I was obviously, as you know, currently residing, at the time I was residing at the Pan Am Place. While I was there, I was kind of just starting to get involved in a lot of the volunteering and stuff that I wanted to be involved in. And so now, fast forward a little bit further, I'm now doing, the volunteering with OPK and Mama Bear, and also, doing the presentations with the schools, sometimes with the Winnipeg Police. And so it's been pretty good. Yeah, I'm very happy to say that it's taken a good start for sure. And I always tell people that this is just the beginning when they're very surprised about things that I tell them, and this is just the beginning for me.
It's quite remarkable. I think it really speaks to the ability that there's never a point where there's that utter hopelessness that you're thinking that you can't make change, you can't turn things around. And truly your life story speaks to that, because as we spoke about in some of the earlier podcasts, at your age 38, where you're coming into your own, you're finding your own voice and who you are as a person. And despite everything you've gone through over the last several decades, here we are now. And I think that's a true look at the hope and inspiration that promotes to so many people.
And I think for a lot of people who struggle with addiction and crime and gangs and incarceration, I think finding their identity is one of the biggest pieces to it, because they kind of just float around, right? They don't know what they're doing. They kind of don't really have any real true goals. And until you kind of find your identity, and in order to find your identity, you have to want to, and obviously everybody probably wants to, but, to take those steps to actually do that, it takes a sequence of events to happen in your life. Because like I said before, we're all good people. We don't want to be doing the things that we do that are bad. It's just like, we get stuck in those cycles.
Yeah, we do. And I think one of the things that you've certainly messaged multiple times is, seeking sobriety. You've been through multiple treatment programs throughout the years. And I think it kind of proves the point that you never stop trying, correct? You just keep at it, and you may fail, you may fumble, but you keep going at it. And I think you entered every time with the hopes that this was going to be the change to give you the opportunity. And truly it does at some point.
Well, I think one of the things you have to come to terms with a lot of people, as much as in your face that it is, people just don't come to the terms with the fact that you're going to fail no matter what. That is part of the process, and you want to fail. Obviously, you don't want to just like go out there like intentionally trying to do things that are going to hurt you or other people, but ultimately in everything that you do, you're going to fail, and ultimately you want to, because it's just an opportunity for growth, right?
Yeah, it's not a setback. It's a step forward, because you're showing that you're making those attempts.
Exactly. I think what I said was, if you don't fail, you're not even trying.
It's so true. And when people look at you relapse, it's not the end. It's still the beginning, and it's that push forward.
And I always tell people when they talk about how much sobriety they have, or whether it's a day or whether it's a year, I don't try to take away from what they have, but I also let them know that it's that the amount that you have is not what's important. What's important is that you have the will and desire to change. You're fighting that good fight, and you're going to want to quit. You're going to want to give up, and you have to face that, and you have to realize that, take responsibility for that in order to continue going on and moving forward.
I think that's a great point, because certainly someone that's trying to reach sobriety, change their lifestyle, there's so many components to it, but it's certainly as much as it is an individual effort, it's a group effort too, right? It's your support network, it's the people around you, it's your environment that's going to be part of that recovery process.
Yeah, and there's a lot of addicts that are in that position in their life where they just don't want to quit at that point, but that's okay, because we all go through that. And like I said, it takes just a sequence of events to happen to get you to that point. And ultimately, as deep down as you get in your addiction, it's those things, as bad as they might be, they're going to teach you, and they're going to give you something to appreciate when you are doing as good as you do.
What's some advice you have for someone that's going through sobriety and they're sensing that maybe a relapse is going to happen, or they're starting to falter? What should they be doing at that point in time?
I think the most important thing is for them to reach out and tell people how they feel. If they feel like they're going to fall down, to tell people that that's how they feel. Be honest. Honestly, the most important thing is to be honest with yourself first, that you're feeling that way, and it's normal to feel that way. You know what I mean? But you have to reach out, I think, because the more you stay with that, you stay with those thoughts on your own, it just leaves it easier for that to happen. And even though that relapse is all part of the process, but you still want to, reach out, take advantage of strengthening your ability to reach out when you need to.
And I suppose the same applies to people that are involved in the justice system and incarcerations and that cycle, and finding the opportunity to get away from it. And a lot of times they get away from it for a while, and then circumstances come back, and they need to do different things in their lives, right, to avoid that getting drawn back into it.
Yeah, I think it just comes back to the whole people, places, and things when it comes to your addiction and your incarceration, because we just we get into the habits, right? A lot of us are involved in the habits and routines of what we do, and like if one of your routines and habits is to go to jail and be incarcerated, then when you get out, there's going to be that habit and that routine that gets you there also. So you need to break those. And the only way to break them is by doing something different. In order to do something you never done, you got to become someone you never been. So a lot of people, it's just easier for them to just stay stuck in the same place. And that's what a lot of us do in life. We complain about our situation, but we don't want to do what it takes to change it.
And you've used volunteer work as a catalyst for your own life, right? To to draw yourself into a different way in the community that has been very successful and very grounding for you.
Yeah, I think it's a very key tool to kind of like getting through those feelings of negativity about yourself. Self-help comes from helping others. So the feeling that you get from doing that, it just makes you feel better about yourself, and then you can kind of like dissect the problems that you have and the issues that you have that have gotten you stuck in your addiction or in your incarceration to begin with. So like ultimately when you're feeling negative about yourself, you go out there, you do something good for somebody, it makes you feel good, and it gets you in a better headspace in order to make the right decision to get further in your recovery or your struggle with incarceration.
And I think it's often overlooked in terms of the idea of volunteering. And there's so many organizations that are out there, and that ability, that first step, whether you're volunteering for an hour or one day a week, it's a start, and you become part of a new community.
Ultimately, yeah, like it doesn't really matter even how long it is or whatever, because it honestly causes a ripple effect, right? When you do the volunteer work, like it's kind of like a paid forward type thing, right? And most people catch on to that, and they want to do good things, right? So you're also like kind of like promoting positivity and good things into your community when you do volunteering, because the more that you do it, the bigger the volunteer lists and people get, and more people will see it, and more people will maybe want to get on.
And I know for yourself, the OPK was a significant turning point for yourself when you became involved in that wonderful organization, and how proud you've been to be part of that. I think every city, every town has, organizations such as that. But again, it's taking that initiative to seek it out and show your sincerity and put the time in.
Yeah. I mean, like, you got to understand that these organizations started somewhere, right? They didn't start off with, 200 members. They started off small, right? And that's how it is. It's what it's all about, is that you just got to do all that you can do, right? Do your best. And all you can do is all you can do, right? And all you can do is enough.
I've always been fascinated just in terms of the connectedness, as one thing leads to another for yourself, and the connections between other people, and it just starts to grow and expand. And that expansion is sort of how you described it to me when we had first met, that, you become an army, right? You become a force. And from that, there's that power in that to make change in the community and impact people's lives in such a healthy, positive way.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that's made my faith so strong in myself, is that, you pray for things and you ask for things, and they happen. It's hard to ignore that, because in the past, when I would ask for things and all that, it would never happen. And but for now I've noticed that I've spent a lot more time praying, saying thank you instead of asking for something. And I think that's a huge change, and definitely a different way of looking at myself and judging how far that I have come, because it's being thankful and being grateful for life. I know as hard as it might be for some people, it is very important, because I believe that it goes out into the universe and it comes back.
So it does. It truly does. And people that have come through significant traumas in their life, whether sexual abuse, domestic violence, as you mentioned, it's always at some point in your life, you have to kind of turn towards that, face it head on and deal with it. Sports is a big factor, it seems like, for people to ground themselves and use energy to do better. And you certainly have used that in terms of your boxing and your bodybuilding. That discipline in the gym has really helped kind of steer you, right? You're kind of gives you that daily focus and that feel good about yourself, that you're doing something.
Yeah, I think physical activity is very important for anybody's process, because ultimately people don't see it, but it's another part of strengthening your mind, right? You go to the gym, or you go to boxing, or you go to whatever it is that you're doing, you're pushing yourself to the limit, right? And so yeah, it's another way of strengthening your mind and your body. And obviously physical activity is very important for your mental health.
It all becomes part of that, right? Because then that becomes part of nutrition as well. So you're eating properly, you're getting your rest, you're burning off that energy, and your body responds to that. So it's something that you've been very regimented with, and I certainly have always been so encouraged by seeing that discipline and that desire has been so present within yourself.
And that's the thing that people need to realize, that it's I wasn't always that way, right? Even the best of the best they weren't always that way. You got to understand, as hard as it might seem in the beginning to get involved in doing those types of things, that's what you got to do. Is you got to make the start. You got to take that step to start, and that's what I did. When in the beginning, I took the step to get started, and then you just build that routine around what you're doing with the exercising or the eating. And basically, it just comes hand in hand. At the end, it's a routine, right? You get involved in the routine for the eating and the working out and the exercising, and it literally just becomes second nature.
I think it's a key piece of what you just said too, is that it was never always like that for yourself, and we don't want to draw assumptions that this was a lifestyle that you've always had. This is new, and it's something that you fostered and has developed brand new habits.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's always ourselves that gets in the way. We get in the way of ourselves, and we get in our heads and start thinking negative and basically blocking ourselves from doing anything that we want to do. But change is hard, right? It's like when you stay in your comfort zone, there's no growth there, and it's really easy to stay there. And the hardest part is getting started. That's why I say to people, like, don't worry about going to the gym and lifting all this crazy weight. The most important part is just getting there. You know what I mean? Just make a habit of getting there. And then that's the hardest part, is just getting there. Once you're there, then you can start to develop certain things. You don't have to worry about having some intricate workout schedule right away. Just work on getting there.
Yeah, so true. So true. What kind of things, Vincent, inspires you nowadays? When you wake up in the morning, what's your inspiration?
I think that's another good thing about volunteering, is that the people that I see that are out there doing the same thing, they always surprise me, with how far people are willing to go. Just recently, I volunteered at a safe space on Main Street, and this was literally just a bar. It was a bar that a family owned, and they opened it up to the homeless. And so Mitch Burbanier asked me if I'd be willing to go volunteer there, and it's open from 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning. And so yeah, I went and volunteered there, and these people that are there, it's just amazing how they were with these people, and that's the way it should be. Just because they're stuck in a rut doesn't mean you treat them any different. And I was so surprised that these women were, trying to find ways to get them help with their addiction and that, not just letting them stay there. And that's what we need to do, is we need to start helping them in other areas, not just housing them. And so also there was a couple guys from Garden Hill. One guy that used to be the Manitoba chief of Manitoba came there, and he was putting people up in hotels from there. And I was just blown away by that, because these people that's all these people need, man. They need a chance. You'd be surprised at how much changes when you give somebody a chance. That
speaks to so much, giving someone a chance, right? That's so universal in everything when you think about it. But yet it's so overlooked so often, that it's so important that we look at everyone as the opportunity that they have a chance too. And sometimes being that person to give them that opportunity is so fulfilling that, it goes such a long way.
in 2018, I still had my charge for robbery with a firearm on a drugstore, and I went for my sentencing. It took them 3 years to sentence me. I stayed out of trouble for 3 years. I did a lot of volunteer work in the community. I was doing everything with my family, and the judge, they were asking 7 years. They were asking 7 years for the robbery with the firearm, and the judge looked at all the evidence, and a lot of people came in to read letters from me of support. And she said, "What is this issue that this guy goes from going in and out of jail his whole life, and all of a sudden now 3 years, nothing? What is the reason for this?" And so she ultimately seen it for what it was, and she gave me a chance. She gave me 3 years probation and a $500 fine, and they were asking 7 years. And so I got a chance, and that was in 2018, and that's when this all started. So if she would have just sent me to prison, then I would have still been in jail now, and none of this stuff would have been possible.
That's amazing. I mean, that no better description in terms of what giving a chance ultimately looks like. And wow, that sentencing judge altered the course of your life, and then the impact of giving back to the community. It's beyond words.
Yeah, and I've been still trying to find her. I've been trying to get a hold of her, but I haven't been successful yet. But hopefully, I'll be able to get a hold of her and let her know. I want just to let her know what I'm doing and what's happened since that day, right? And because I believe that these judges that make the right decisions, they need to know. They need to recognition in order to strengthen their decision making in the justice system.
I truly hope you get that opportunity, because it's so true. They often never know the outcomes unless something goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, it's usually negative. Usually they see the negative effect of the decision that maybe they made or didn't make, and now they use my court case. They use it for precedence, like in other cases, because they need to understand people change.
And that's the other part of it. People do change. Who we are today isn't who we were yesterday, and we have to have an open mind to that and give someone that chance and the opportunity. And I think that's always been your message right from the start, right from the reason for your book was you give someone a chance to change and improve. Look at the marvelous things that they can give back. It's tremendous.
Well, any decision that you make is going to have some sort of ripple effect, right? So think about it that way, whether it be negative or positive. I mean, if I would have went to jail for 7 years and in prison for 7 years, I'd still be incarcerated, and I'd still be, I would be so angry. I would have been so angry at myself and all that, and it would have probably, I'm not sure what would have happened, but it wouldn't have been good for sure.
No, well, certainly we know that you would not have been doing the opportunities you have been, the volunteer work and working with kids and every piece of society, and that's the true loss, right? Not just for your own life, but for the influence on everybody else. And in today's society, we're all looking to grab onto something that can inspire us and motivate us and pick us up when we fall down. And I think that's certainly been a huge part that you've been doing.
And ultimately, it would have never met you. So the book would have never been written.
Well, that's just it. I always said fate, destiny. There was a purpose for us to meet and come across, and the way we met at the boxing gym, totally by chance, and you striking up a conversation, and here we are. To be able to discuss your book, your story, and the tremendous impact it's had on readers. I'm still shaking my head by it. I'm still astonished and humbled to, you and I have walked this journey together, and it's just amazing seeing how it just continues to prosper and flourish.
And the thing is that everything happens for a reason, I believe. And it's how you react to that reason that's important.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And you know, sometimes it's just a matter of stepping back and looking at opportunities and realizing what you can or can't do. And then ones you can't do, say, well, let's try anyway and see what happens with it. Take a chance, right? And we took a chance with the book and your life story. It's, you know, you held nothing back and you opened yourself up, and it takes courage. And it's certainly, you know, moving forward, you're being able to use things in such a positive, healthy way. It's, you know, it's an honor for, I think, anyone who's had a chance to speak to you or listen to you. There's so much to take away from our conversations and what's written in your book.
And I think the effect that it's having is exactly what I needed and what I wanted, because people are thanking me for the book and being honest and telling my story. And I tell them that it was a part of the process that needed to be done in order to help me also. So in order, I might be helping others with the book, but it's also helping me.
It truly is. It truly is. And I always think back to, you know, when we first talked about it and your enthusiasm for it. And really, yeah, it has done so much for myself and for you and everyone else. It's certainly a treasured piece, and truly, there's so much more to come from all of that. But, you know, I think it heals everybody in their own ways too. And I think that that's such an important part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so as we said on the title, All Eyes on Me, and it has specific meaning for you, but truly the subtitle of Addiction, Recovery, and Hope absolutely just hits home. It truly is all about hope and having that opportunity, that chance.
I definitely agree.
Well, I really want to thank you again for a fantastic podcast. We have our 12th and final coming up, and we're definitely going to make the most of that as well, because we still have so much more to share and discuss together, Vincent.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.